Hello and welcome to another Stellarian Games video. In this video we're going to be covering some more tools. In this case we're going to be covering knives. I've had some comments on videos asking what knife I use to cut my styrofoam, and I think people are particularly interested in this knife, which is an Olfa circle cutting knife. It's a little bit more expensive than I think your regular standard utility knife, because it is a very customized kind of equipment. It originally comes with this piece as well, which would be placed into this track, and this track would allow you to set different radiuses for cutting circles with this knife. I was really interested in the knife because it simply had this extra guide along with the knife. This guide allows me to keep my cuts a little bit more perpendicular to the cutting surface. I was having some issues with cutting a little bit off at an angle, and it doesn't have to be very much of an angle, just a few degrees, and you really start noticing it in your pieces. You end up with really strange cuts when you do butt joints up against other pieces. This has helped me quite a bit in allowing me to keep a much more perpendicular cut all the way through the cut, and it allows it to be a little bit more straight as well, because I can kind of guide it a little bit differently than a normal utility knife. I had to customize it a little bit because it is really not designed for what I'm using it for. So really the only customization that I had to do was on the back side of this knife. If you can see, I had to put a little black mark. And this black mark is exactly where the blade will be cutting. So I can use that black mark to trace along a black line that I have on the styrofoam. And as long as I follow that black mark, I get a pretty straight cut right down the line where I want it to be. So I can get a nice even cut all the way through. What is nice about the knife is it also has a very nice bevel to the blade. So as it's cutting through the styrofoam, you're getting a very angular cut, which means you're going to end up with a very nice smooth cut through the styrofoam. If you're trying to go straight through the styrofoam vertically, you end up with a lot more tears in the styrofoam. With this angle, you're guaranteed a pretty smooth cut all the way through the styrofoam. What I also like about it is it's adjustable with a little twist tightener, so that the blade will lock into place at a particular depth. So if you only want to cut a certain depth into it, you can do that and lock it in pretty comfortably, or go all the way through and cut fairly thick styrofoam with this knife. I use other Olfa knives as well, just a basic standard Olfa utility knife. This one just has a click out blade, retractable blade, and a smaller version of that with a smaller retractable blade. I really like the Olfa blades themselves. They hold their edge, I think, quite a bit longer than other blades, and they are very, very sharp. The ergonomics of the handles is also very nice. So I have all three of my utility knives are the Olfa blades, and I guess I can't recommend them more. The small one I just recently got, and I was realizing I needed to be able to get into some tighter areas with a smaller blade, but also at a little bit deeper depth than I could get with an X-Acto knife. So that's where this blade comes in. I do use the X-Acto knife pretty heavily in my videos, but this knife allows me to get much deeper in, and you can see that in my last video where I was cutting in behind a window, about 2 inches into the styrofoam. This was critical for being able to do that. So this was just a very quick video, just covering the Olfa knives, and particularly this one with the bracket. It is a circle cutter. It's designed to be a circle cutter, so it's really not meant for kind of the perpendicular cuts, but I do enjoy having the guide on it. It allows me to keep those cuts very perpendicular. So if you have any questions or comments on the knives that I'm using, please feel free to leave them down below. And if you like the video, please subscribe as well. Thank you.